I'd like to thank you for watching this episode of ShotBlast, but also give very special thanks to my Patreon supporters, without whom this extra content would not be possible. Thank you guys. If you'd like to see the next episode of ShotBlast, that means the one after this one, right now you can do so as it is exclusive to Patreon for a period of time. Alright folks, let's get on with the show. Hi, I'm Harry Partridge and welcome to another episode of ShotBlast. Right now, we're looking at an animatic, and an animatic is basically a rough animated storyboard, and it's an invaluable part of the animation pipeline. This was made for the Good Times Ghostbusters parody by my buddy Phelan Porteous, and you can find the full thing on his channel, Phelas. But I'm showing you this to try and show you just how useful an animatic is. You can kind of figure things out, rough out all of your drawings and key poses and figure out what works and what doesn't. We can take a look at the finished thing, and even though the animation is deliberately crude, you can kind of get the idea. I stuck very, very closely to my animatic and it made the whole process a lot more efficient, and I just had a lot less wasted time. So why am I showing you this? Well, I'm a big old nugget head who didn't plan out his own passion project. I didn't create an animatic for Trilby Dogtooth versus the Snapper Chap. I kind of jumped right in, and so now at this late editing phase, I'm starting to realize that maybe I don't love some of the transitions from shot to shot. For example, we have this cool moment of Dogtooth all broody on a rooftop. He jumps down and obscures the frame, then bam, into the alleyway where he lands. And I feel it's a little jarring going from that solid black frame back to the action in one jump cut. I want to kind of stretch things out a little bit and maybe give the impression that a little more time has passed and Dogtooth hasn't just jumped down from one roof to the alleyway, but maybe he's scoped the place out. He's had to look around a little bit on the hunt for his prey. So we're going to go over to Adobe Animate, where I've animaticed two brand new shots to help us bridge the gap, and over this and the next episode of ShotBlast, we're going to bring those two shots to life and slip them in to create the finished sequence. So we have our first shot here, kind of a cool POV from inside a rubbish bin or a trash can or whatever you want to call your refuse receptacles. It's fine with me. We tumble down here as the rubbish bin is sort of savaged by this creature, and then another POV, but this time more over the shoulder type POV from Dogtooth's perspective, and I think that does a good job of slowing down the action a bit, setting the scene and putting us in the mindset of Dogtooth. But today on ShotBlast, we are going to go ahead and create this shot, and then next time we'll create the other shot, which involves a 3D background, which I'll talk a little bit about next time. So let's open up Photoshop and start to create some of the assets needed for the inside of this rubbish bin. You know, that was actually a lot harder than I thought it would be. You know, these kind of ribbed dents that they have, these, I don't know what they're called, these grooves on the inside of a rubbish bin that are concave, meaning that they go in from the outside. Well, I tried drawing them convex from the inside, meaning that they would pop out, but it didn't look right, so I cheated it and I made it concave both ways. Still looks like the inside of a washing machine or something and not a trash can. But next up, I'm going to draw the falling debris, the rubbish that kind of tumbles over as the rubbish bin is pulled to the ground, and that should hopefully sell the shot a little bit better. So back to Photoshop for that. And here we have animated trash. Yeah, look at that. You can click inside the symbol and see all the layers that I split our Photoshop graphics up onto so I could motion between them, falling at different speeds to create this flopping, lifeless garbage. Yeah, I realize this is not a very interesting shot that I have chosen to showcase here on an episode of ShotBlast, but hey, look, not every episode can be a busty barbarian alien woman throwing knives. Some episodes can be that, but then some episodes are going to inevitably be lifeless piles of trash viewed from the inside of a rubbish bin. Oh my gosh. Well, look, here, the next step is going to be kind of important because we're going to need the background behind him, and it's an unusual shot because we're actually changing perspective. We start by looking up at the sky and seeing just sort of the underneath of the tops of roofs, and then we're going to fall down to be onto the ground where we have kind of a worm's eye view here. And I could be a good boy and I could create a brand new background. However, I think I'm going to be lazy and I'm going to cobble one together. Nay, I am going to Frankenstein one together from parts of old dead backgrounds. Not that one. Not that one. But maybe that sky could be useful. Those rooftops, maybe. I really like this one. That low angle pretty much matches exactly what we need. So I'm gonna go ahead and start stitching parts of dead things back together, and we'll create a new background. That was a little hard to watch sped up that fast. It's one thing to record myself drawing a background or some animation and then speed that up, but when I'm doing trial and error as I quickly try mashing together lots of different parts of backgrounds, it's a little hard to follow at that speed, so I'm sorry about that. However, I think now we've hit upon a background that pretty much works and sells the perspective of the shot, shifting down there from looking up at the sky down to being at eye level basically with the street. My job now is going to be taking these rough frames of our creature here, bringing those into Toon Boom, and then finally, I've been looking forward to this part, finally I know what I'm doing, animating this character fluidly and getting him shaded and colored and in our shot. Let's do it! Oh, pretty tired now. This is a lot later in the day and we've got 16 frames done. I'll show you, we've got the teeth there closing in at the top, chomping down on the can, and then this full body frame, or nearly full body frame, and then pretty much only what we will need to see through the end of the trash can as he comes crouching down into view there. And honestly, these kind of slow, gradual movements, they're always what take the most time. Even though he's not moving much, he's moving slowly, so that took a lot of drawing. Now we need a lot of shading, so I'm gonna go and quickly do my shading separation, which I do in the bright green lines, but that's kind of boring. I won't dwell on that too much, and I'll bring this right back into Flash from Toon Boom, and I'll fill in all of the shaded areas and then all of the flat colors. Here goes. It is the next morning and I'm officially tired of working on this shot. So we have our animation frames, they've been put in, colored and shaded, and I did some motion tweening to have it sort of follow the motion of the can down so it matches the background. And we need to do some more frames. I've sketched them out here in white. I thought maybe we could get away with reusing some of the frames I've already drawn, but I think I do need to create some new ones. And now as I'm seeing the shot come together, I'm realizing we have a lot more work still to do. In the form of tweaks, I think the inside of the can here needs to be darker and sort of have the blue values pumped up so it matches the background. I'm thinking that maybe some lighting and shading is still necessary as the creature bites the lip of the can. I'd like to cast a shadow and then have maybe a drop shadow underneath his feet that we see at the end there, and even change the lighting inside the trash can itself so that we have maybe more of a shadow here on the top, as it's no longer getting all of that moonlight from being opened up. So I'm still going to have to do another pass on this. I'm not sure if we'll get to sound effects today, but I'm realizing sound effects are going to be a very important part of selling this shot, adding in the metal scraping and clanging and hearing the beast shuffling around. So I'm going to get to all of that stuff now and try and wrap this thing up, and then finally, hopefully, we will be done with this shot. Let's get to going. Oh, and we are finally done. They say that art is never finished, only abandoned. I am not calling this art, by the way, but I am calling it abandoned, officially. So, you can see I played with the editing and the timing of the shot a little bit, paced things slightly differently. Now, I also pumped up the blue values of the creature and the foreground layer, and did this cool shadow being cast as it bites the lip of the can. And then as it pulls the can forward, we see this rim of blue light appearing on the chewed up edge, and then some blue light there appearing on the trash. And that shadow moves to the top to kind of denote the change of positioning in the can. Also, because you see the lid being pulled away, I thought it made sense to include the lid on the ground and have a drop shadow underneath it, and then the creature of course has a drop shadow too underneath. My favorite thing, I think, visually about the shot are these little cool highlights on his gross saliva, just to make him look really nasty and disgusting. Sound was always going to be an important part of selling this kind of unusual shot, so I went and added some temporary sound effects and some fantastic music by Brian Sadler. We'll get to see the finished shot in just a moment, but if you want to see the next part of this two-parter where I move on to the shot after that, you can immediately go and watch that on the Patreon. It's going to be exclusive to the Patreon for a while, but now we can move on to seeing the finished shot. I'm off to abandon some more art. Thank you for watching.